Hello and welcome to the day's episode of Focus Atlanta. I'm your host, Keisha Lancelin. Recently, Focus Atlanta took to the streets for an informal poll to find out how much your average citizen knows about the United States Attorney's Office.
What does the United States Attorney's Office do?
The United States Attorney Office, attorneys are like judges, not judges, lawyers.
Yeah.
They're like lawyers, so the United States Attorney Office,
I'm gonna let you get to the
they
answer.
process. Can I phone a friend?
I don't know.
I don't know.
United States Attorney's Office, they don't make the rules for all the attorneys, and they make sure that everybody get the same rules and we follow the same guidelines. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
What do they do? Prosecute cases?
Yeah.
Though many were unaware, the U.S. Attorney's Office of Northern District of Georgia works every day towards justice for each of us.
As a community outreach coordinator, I'm out in the community quite a bit, and I'm often introduced as the Assistant Attorney General, the Attorney General, Assistant District U.S. Attorney. So it doesn't surprise me that people don't know specifically what we do, but it's my mission to inform them.
Well, we're responsible for the enforcement of all federal criminal laws, and in our particular office, it's in the Northern District of Georgia, which is, as a friend of mine is fond of saying, it's pretty much everything south of Chattanooga and north of Macon.
They enforce the criminal laws of the United States, represent the United States' interests in civil proceedings, and manage programs for the community.
I think it is important that they understand and appreciate what their Justice Department is doing. And so when we say that we work for you, we think it's important that the citizens of this district understand that we represent them. When our lawyers stand up in court and say, I represent the people of the United States, that's not some ethereal notion here. That's the citizens of this district, and that we're responsible for doing everything we can to keep them safe and to do it in a way that engenders their trust. So that's what's important to us.
By going out to the community and engaging the community, we let them know that we are public servants, that we work for the Justice Department. We're here to enforce all federal laws for the citizens of the Northern District of Georgia. So indeed, we are the law enforcement arm of the community.
Federal crimes like human trafficking, child exploitation, terrorism, illegal firearms, and drug trafficking affect each citizen of the Northern District. These are the crimes prosecuted by the United States Attorney's Office.
There's a wide variety of different types of cases that we do. Everything from kidnapping to bank robberies to cybercrime, national security, terrorism, bank fraud, mortgage fraud. It's really a wide variety of cases. Really, the vast majority of street crime falls to our colleagues in the district attorney's offices to prosecute. And it's really, they have a responsibility to prosecute everything that comes across their desk. Our office is different in that we prosecute only federal crimes, but we're also a bit more selective. And we can pick and choose the cases that we prosecute. And we do that in part because we don't have the resources to prosecute every single federal case, but also because we're trying to choose cases that will make an impact on the district.
In a district of over 6 million people with a geographic scope that runs from the mountains in the north to the Atlanta suburbs in the south, from the border of Alabama in the west to the two Carolinas in the east, the United States Attorney's Office of Northern District of Georgia seeks to fulfill the public's trust and the public's expectation that they will be protected.
I think our overall goal would be to seek justice, as simple and sort of corny as that sounds. But what that means is it's not our goal to just prosecute people and put them in prison. It's not our goal to just win cases. Our goal is to seek justice, and that means to do what we can to keep our community safe, to make victims whole who have been victimized by crime. But again, to do it in an ethical and an honest manner such that people have confidence in their Justice Department.
They protect our safety by prosecuting criminal federal cases from kidnapping to drug trafficking, and aggressively investigate and prosecute corruption by those in public office, government, and corporations.
Well, we have about 95 lawyers in our office, and certainly the bulk of the work that we do is criminal, but we are also responsible for doing all the civil work for the United States as well in our district. So we represent all of the federal agencies in the Northern District of Georgia and also bring what's called affirmative civil cases. So let's say you have a pharmaceutical company that is engaged in misbranding. For example, we may go after them civilly rather than criminally, and our folks do that representation. But the majority of our lawyers are on the criminal side. As I mentioned, we have about 95, and we're divided into different sections in the office, and we work with our law enforcement partners, primarily the federal agencies like FBI and DEA and ATF and others, but also sometimes our state and local counterparts as well.
Every day, the lawyers and support staff of the United States Attorney's Office of the Northern District of Georgia are inspired to promote the mission of the Justice Department and to make our community a better place to live. Learn more here on Focus Atlanta. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Focus Atlanta. We were impressed to learn that our United States Attorney, Sally Yates, is the first woman to serve as the United States Attorney in the Northern District of Georgia. We took to the streets to find out how many Georgians were aware of how history was made.
Is the U.S. Attorney for Georgia a man or a woman?
Man.
A man.
It's a guy.
I think it's a gentleman.
I'll guess it's a woman.
Sally Quillian Yates was nominated by President Obama to serve as the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia and was confirmed by the Senate on March 10th of 2010.
Well, I'd been a prosecutor in the office for a lot of years, almost 20 years before I became the U.S. Attorney. So I had essentially professionally grown up in the office. And it really didn't dawn on me that it was particularly significant that I was the first woman until, frankly, other people started talking about it. And I realized that while our district was one of the few that had not had a female U.S. Attorney before, to me, it's not that big an issue, but to other folks it seems to be.
As the chief federal law enforcement official for the district, she oversees the prosecution of all federal cases and the litigation of civil matters in which the government has interest in the district.
There are 93 of us from across the country. There are 93 judicial districts. There are 3 in Georgia. And as you mentioned, we're all nominated by President Obama and confirmed by the Senate.
Ms. Yates has spent most of her professional career in public service and has 22 years of prosecutorial experience in the U.S. Attorney's Office and was also the lead prosecutor in the Atlanta prosecution of Olympic bomber Eric Rudolph.
One of really the primary responsibilities for any U.S. Attorney is to assess what are the most significant crime threats in his or her district, and to try to figure out how we're going to use the limited resources that we have to try to have the greatest public safety impact. Not just to generate stats and to prosecute cases, but really to try to discern what are our most significant issues now and what are the issues that are going to be coming in the years to come as well. We want to stay ahead of that curve.
She supervises a staff of approximately 95 lawyers and 80 support personnel in civil, criminal, and administrative divisions.
For me, one of the greatest challenges that I have is trying to figure out again how I'm going to use those limited resources in the way that'll be most beneficial for people in the district. There's certainly case oversight and management of an office. We have, with our support people, over 200 people in our office, so it's a pretty big operation. But and then I generally take credit for the work other people do in the office.
The criminal division is the largest division in the office. Assistant United States attorneys investigate and prosecute cases arising from the fight against terrorism to major crimes in narcotics and organized crime drug enforcement.
U.S. Attorney's Office, we have about 100 lawyers who work here. We have about another 100 people, whether it's paralegals, computer people, support staff. We also have a civil division of about 25 lawyers, and what the civil division does is they respond to suits where the United States is sued. So if you have like a postal carrier or a doctor at the VA and they get sued because of their job, we defend them in that lawsuit. It's not exactly as potentially as exciting stuff as some of the criminal stuff, but that's what they do.
In order to effectively prosecute cases, the U.S. Attorney's Office maintains strong partnerships with other federal agencies like the FBI, ATF, ICE, and DEA.
You're going to hear some great presentations from the FBI, the DEA, the Secret Service, ATF, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So you're going to hear from those very important people, those agents who work hard for you to keep our community safe every day.
The one thing no one has mentioned kind of yet, like getting into the FBI or other federal agencies can be a long process. They called me in 2004. I got the job in 2007. So it was a good thing that I had a background in my social work. I had those other things to kind of fall back on, and it wasn't anything, it doesn't always have to be anything to do with you. I came in at a time, or during that period, there were budget issues. So there were hiring freezes. So there were different things, factors that affected it. So for 3 years, I had to continue on doing other things. Well, I came into the Bureau in 2007. I went through Quantico, which is about 21 weeks at that time. I think it's about 22 now. My first assignment was in New Orleans. So I was in New Orleans for about 5 years, 4.5 years. And I went to D.C. for a while. Then I came here.
Arrest violent transnational street gangs by developing intelligence on gang members, then seize cash, weapons, and other illegal assets to deter, disrupt, and dismantle these criminal enterprises. The final stages of the enforcement action would be prosecution and removal of illegal alien gang members from the United States.
Hey man, you bought this gun? Like, yeah man, well where is it? Oh man, it got stolen, shawty. Right? That's what you gonna say, it got stolen. So you say you filed a police report? Man, I was going to. But you didn't. So now you are the last possessor of the gun. So then we're gonna keep on interview, keep on talking to you, Hey man, this gun was used in a homicide. So then where'd you really get that? What'd you really do with that gun? And you know what? I gave it to Peanut. What's Peanut's real name? I don't even know. Right? Because it's probably true. I mean, you got friends that you go by a nickname, you don't know their real name. Right? So then you got to I got Peanut's cell phone. I got Peanut's cell phone. It's called a burner phone. Can't do that phone away. So now we focusing on you. You saying Peanut exists. You saying you stole the gun to Peanut. We don't see Peanut. We see you.
The United States Attorney's Office is one of the most comprehensive examples of how national and local, federal and state, government and citizens work together to make our district, our state, and our country a safe place to raise children and a place where businesses and public officials act with integrity and in the interest of America and its people. Stay tuned to learn more. We'll be right back here on Atlanta's CW. Welcome back. You're watching Focus Atlanta, and I'm your host, Keisha Lanslin. The United States Attorney's Office engages in community outreach to establish an ongoing dialogue with the public and to work together to build safer communities.
Rather than just being prosecutors, we're out in the community to, pretty much do good work. And the community outreach side allows us to get out and engage the citizens of the Northern District. We do things on the prevention side, just trying to keep kids from being involved in the criminal justice system to begin with. So we are really active to say, look, there are other alternatives. You can do the right thing. You don't necessarily have to worry about coming to see us on a legal side if you do the right thing up front. And so being out in the community and engaging students at the front end prevents us from seeing them on the back end.
A three-pronged approach is taken under the direction of U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder.
Well, it's kind of a directive from the Attorney General, Eric Holder. He wants us to be not just simply case processors, but neighborhood problem solvers.
This Justice Department has been focused on trying to have a more holistic approach to law enforcement. While certainly the enforcement prong, prosecuting people and sending them to prison is the bread and butter of what we do, but we've come to recognize that that alone is not going to build a safer community, that we really have to couple that with effective prevention and as well as prisoner reentry, which is really just another form of crime prevention. So it's the proverbial three-legged stool approach.
They have sponsored summits on violent crime, prescription drug abuse, human trafficking, and other topics to bring together community members and law enforcement and to find creative solutions to these problems.
So on the prevention side, we do a lot of things with young students. We deal with middle school students, high school students, elementary school kids, doing everything from reading programs to career days to youth and legal symposiums. We're involved in a lot of speaking engagements, just trying to make sure that kids are aware of what the pitfalls may be. But we also are out there to engage them to say that we care about them. I mean, we mentor a lot of kids as well. So on the prevention side, we're there early on and often at high schools, middle schools, and the like.
Do not blow your opportunity early. Don't blow it at all. Sometimes you're forgiven, sometimes you aren't. Now, obviously, as a DEA agent, first and foremost, and it's been said, all the federal agencies, you have to have a 4-year college degree. Don't just squeak by and do mediocre work. Be a stellar student. Okay, because you have to have somewhere around a 2.95 grade point average, which is easy in my opinion. I mean, I had far above that, and I played football 4 years. So make sure your grades are in order first and foremost.
The United States Attorney's Office priorities go beyond prosecuting criminals and litigating cases.
We have a lot of partners on the education side in particular. We've partnered with communities and schools, for example, and we've gone out to several high schools. In the last year, we've partnered at Villa Rica High School in Villa Rica, Georgia, and Osborne High School in Marietta to engage at-risk youth about crime prevention, leadership, decision-making issues. That's one of our partners. The Urban League of Greater Atlanta is also another partner of ours that works specifically in the reentry space. We've partnered with them for a program called New Beginnings, which trains ex-offenders with life skills, soft skills, decision-making skills, and job search skills so that they can be reintegrated into society.
Now, let me take you back. My brother, 1 year older than I, very smart student, straight A student, very good athlete. Shooting ball one day. I was near him, and I can't tell you on how many occasions this happened. And he said, his question was, "Little bro, do you want to hit?" I'm serious. "Little bro, do you want to hit at that joint?"
Training will familiarize you with methods to detect narcotic smuggling activities, bulk cash smuggling, and illegal weapons and ammunition smuggling operations. You will be trained to handle cargo search and process seizures, deal with border violence, and investigate assaults on officers and U.S. citizens, as well as boarding vessels and working with boat crews at seaports.
What do you carry today?
It's not easy. It works you mentally, physically, and emotionally. They should definitely be prepared for the challenge upon entry.
You may participate in programs initiated by the Cybercrime Center, C3, and the Child Exploitation Section, CES. C3 and CES investigate the trans-border dimension of large-scale producers and distributors of images of child abuse and child sexual exploitation. Arrest violent transnational street gangs by developing intelligence on gang members, then seize cash, weapons, and other illegal assets to deter, disrupt, and dismantle these criminal enterprises. The final stages of the enforcement action would be prosecution and removal of illegal alien gang members from the United States.
Goals of community outreach efforts include expand violence prevention by partnering with community stakeholders to reach at-risk populations, strengthen enforcement efforts by addressing public safety concerns and developing community trust, and support successful ex-offender reentry through targeted programs focusing on reintegration into communities.
On the prisoner reentry side, it's been a primary focus of the Justice Department recently is that after a person has paid their debt to society, they need to be given another chance, a second chance, so that they can become full productive citizens once again. So with reentry, we have really focused with engaging the business community, the faith community, and community stakeholders to give those who have served their time a second chance. The business community and the Governor's Office of Transition Support and Reentry have partnered with us to really push this reentry initiative full steam ahead. And to know that so many folks, after they have served their time in prison, have difficult times getting jobs. I mean, 2/3 of state offenders reoffend within 2 to 3 years. 40% of federal offenders reoffend in 2 years as well. And it's tough to get a job after having the scarlet letter of being a felon. So getting out and engaging the business community, the faith community, and all community stakeholders to give these ex-offenders a second chance has really been a main focus and a big initiative of our office. And we encourage the citizens, those business owners in the Northern District of Georgia, to assist us in giving these folks a second chance.
The United States Attorney's Office of the Northern District of Georgia seeks to develop relationships with residents, community groups, educators, and vulnerable populations to understand community needs and lead focused prevention and reentry efforts.
Any vulnerable victims, any person who can potentially be a victim of crime, we are concerned about all citizens in the Northern District of Georgia. And so those initiatives are not just for kids, but to talk about crime prevention issues. We participate in National Night Out, for example. We've had summits at the Wheat Street the elderly home on Auburn Avenue. We've also met with the Atlanta Police Department, and we work with a number of organizations that engage in crime prevention initiatives.
We'll be back with more. Stay tuned to Focus Atlanta. Welcome back. We're closing out our focus on your United States Attorney's Office, Northern District of Georgia.
The U.S. Attorney's Office sponsored an essay program contest last year, and we had 75 students in the English Avenue, Vine City area to participate. These students primarily were in the Washington High School cluster, and so these students wrote about neighborhood improvement, public safety, and their stories were just impressive, amazing. I mean, these kids said that they wanted safer neighborhoods, they wanted more police presence, they wanted recreation centers, they wanted clean neighborhoods. They were embarrassed that the street lights didn't work. And so they wrote their essays about improving their own communities. The U.S. Attorney was so moved by that we formed a youth advisory council. So we went back to the schools, the middle schools, and re-engaged these students and had a more personal conversation with them. And they gave us detailed lists of things they wanted to see improved in their neighborhood. And one of the questions that we asked during the essay contest was, do they plan to live in their neighborhood once they become adults? And many said they would if they saw these changes. And so we engaged Chief Turner from the Atlanta Police Department, Cesar Mitchell, the president of Atlanta City Council, and they came out and spoke to these kids in intimate settings and have taken those ideas and initiatives and have started to implement some of them.
When people don't know law enforcement, they generally don't trust law enforcement. And that it's really important, I think, for us to build trust with the communities that we serve. You know, many of the communities have reasons to feel disaffected, and that it has not been a positive relationship in the past. And we really can't expect that to change if they don't get to know us. And so that's part of the reason why we've been doing the community outreach that we have, is so particularly that kids in high school and even middle schools can start to develop positive relationships with people who are involved in law enforcement. And then when enforcement actions are taking place, perhaps they'll have a better understanding of why we're taking the actions that we are. But also, I think it's even more important not just that they hear from us, but that we hear from them. You know, we are representing this district, and it's important that we hear from the citizens of this district about the problems that they're encountering in their neighborhoods, so that we can make those decisions about how to use our resources in the most effective way.
For more information, visit justice.gov. Thanks for watching today's episode of Focus Atlanta. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and stay tuned every week here on Atlanta's CW.